What's up? It's your girl, Sofia Gutierrez with Arena Football One, and I'm joined by none other than Kris Lewis from the Oregon Lightning. How are you doing, Kris?
I'm doing all right, Miss Sophia. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Now, you are just wrapping up practice, I hear?
Yeah, we just trying to finish up around here. Trying to get some kinks worked out from last week.
Yeah, talk to me about that. Coming back after a game, playing at home, what did today's practice look like?
From Coach Chuck, very intense. He wasn't pleased with the performance this weekend, and I think none of us were. I think if you really watch the game, that you can see that during the game, the score doesn't reflect how the actual game went. It got out of hand, but I think we fought hard and we got a lot of upside. But as far as today, it was brutal. We had to go in and really do some work.
Well, it's still super early on in the season, so these are the times to make the adjustments. I know Coach Jones had said the keys to success for last Saturday's game was control the clock, no turnovers, and being home field advantage. What do you think have to be the keys to success for the team for the rest of the season?
Honestly, I think that we just gotta improve on the things that we didn't do well and run with the things that we did do well. I think we got a lot of upside on offense, and we got a lot of weapons and explosive players over here that can help us out. And I think that the things that we didn't do well, we just got to work on those things. A lot of
Yeah.
small things that we shot ourselves in the foot on.
I mean, we have to talk about the great things too. Before we went live, we talked about that snap that you had between Dalton Cole and yourself. Talk to me about the feeling after a play like that happens.
It's exciting. That's what we come in to do. We come in to make plays. It's always fun to score touchdowns. It was just so happened to be the first one in our team's history, so that was very exciting.
Yeah, and you hadn't had too much of a history playing with Dalton, so how was that? Having someone kind of fairly new join the squad and playing and executing such a play like that.
I think it was just a blessing, honestly. To not be able to practice with a guy for a long time or throughout camp like the most of the rest of these guys are. I think that just having a veteran quarterback shows that you need those guys in the locker room.
Mm-hmm. And when you were there to practice before the season even started, obviously you've been playing the sport for years, the game for years. How important is it to have team chemistry not only on the field but off the field? Because we see that translate from off the field to on the field. So you want to make sure you have a good relationship with everybody. How important do you think that is?
Absolutely. I think team camaraderie is one of the bigger things that you can have on the team. It's easier to go out there and play hard for somebody that you really love and that you'll lay down for.
Hmm. Now, I'm fairly new to arena football. I actually caught my first game this weekend. One of my favorite things was the community. Just people from everywhere. Like, these fans are crazy, I love it. I love the excitement, the energy. I remember walking in and seeing like EMT, and I was like, wow, this must be like super physical, which it is. But I realized that it was for the fans too, because they're just up so close and personal to you guys. You guys make those plays and they're right there and they're yelling. How is that different than other games that you've played?
I think the biggest thing is just the engagement, the energy. They bring the energy in the stadium. Home field advantage is a big thing because they're so close to us. Like you said, they're right there on the field, and they show a lot of love. I think that as the season grows, Redmond will become a place that people be like, that's a nice fan base. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it this weekend was more curiosity than anything because nobody really knew what it was. And now that they know what it is and how exciting it is and that we're going to put on the show, I think there'll be a lot more people there. But definitely I would say that the fans, they bring all the energy. They obviously, I mean, to an extent, they're the ones that we do it for. We're entertainers at the end of the day, so we want to make sure we put on a good show for them.
Yeah, and talking about the excitement and the buildup, obviously you have the fan engagement that gets you going, but I know there has to be something that gets you going. Do you have any pregame rituals or songs that you like to listen to that get you pumped every time you hear them?
Um, Pre-game ritual, I think the only thing that I really do pre-game ritual-wise is I try to go get in the sauna a couple hours before the game and just try to clean my body of all toxins. Sitting there, just think, visualize what I'm going to do in the game, try to go through those things. But I think as far as music, there's a lot of music that gets me going. But I'm a big Chief Keef, Lil Durk, Kodak kind of guy on game day, so I can't really give you one song, but I got a playlist that really gets me going.
All right, give me a Chief Keef song and a Kodak.
Oh, for Chief Keef, I'll probably go Yes Sir, and then Kodak, I'll probably go Tunnel Vision.
Yeah, okay. I like to play that too when I'm working out. Always gets me going.
Okay,
And
okay.
you know, I just like you said, you can't pick one. I have a playlist. Sometimes I have like a top three, but there's certain songs that you like to play for, whatever it is, whether it's like weightlifting or doing cardio. But for me, whatever I do, music is a huge part of my life. And I know when I was playing team sports or even right now when I practice boxing, music for me is number one. And obviously, I'm not playing at a professional level, so I don't have that fan engagement. So the music is what really gets me going. Now, what is something that fans would be surprised to know about you?
Ooh, something that I think something that would surprise people is that I'm really to myself. I'm very quiet, I guess you could kind of say, almost kind of shy off the field, but on the field, it's just a totally different person. I feel like when I put the helmet on, I almost kind of have a different person, like a split personality when I put the helmet on.
Uh-huh. Do we see that during practice too? Is it just come game day?
No, practice too. Practice is where it starts. If you practice the way that you play in the game, it makes the game easy.
I heard one of my coaches once say that you fail to the like, let's say during a game in boxing, we say like your failure during the fight is your best preparation during your practice. So you always have to practice to be the best. And yeah, it's like when you fall to your level of preparation. So I completely understand that. Is there any one person or any couple of people that you're most excited to share the field with this season?
Yeah, I think sharing the field with Nick Brassel, we call him Snoop, and Kiki is probably the two people that I'm most excited to play for, just because the history last year with the Black Bears and us all coming back to Oregon to play on the same team. I think we all came back for a purpose.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge of playing a fast-paced game like arena football?
Um, I think it's just being prepared for any moment. You never know how the game's going to swing. I think it's almost kind of like basketball, how the game it's almost a game of runs. One team's going to get hot, and the other team's not going to be hot, and then it's going to flip, and the other team's going to get hot. So I think just staying prepared for any moment in the game is what helps me the most.
And if you weren't playing football, what sport do you think you'd be playing?
Ooh, probably baseball, to be honest.
Baseball, what position?
I was a shortstop.
Okay, so you're quick.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay, okay. I grew up playing softball my whole life till about high school. I love the sport. How would you relate playing with a team in baseball to football?
Um, I think playing in baseball is a little more relaxed. Obviously, you still work hard and you have teammates that go to work every day and you've got to put in different work. But I think football is just such a barbaric sport that it brings out a different personality and a different person in you.
In high school, I used to get in arguments all the time with the baseball players. I mean, the soccer players, because I'd be like, baseball, softball is so much more technical. It's more of a thinking game. They'd be like, no, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, soccer is definitely a lot more physical and everything. You have to think on the spot. But I see it with baseball and softball. You kind of have to think about what you're going to do. What would you say is more of a mental sport? Would it be football or baseball?
Um, I think that depends on what position you play in football.
hmm
Baseball is definitely a mental sport because you can't really project what's going to happen. You really have no idea what's going to happen when the ball leaves the bat or if the ball's even going to get hit. You know what I mean? And in football, I think it's kind of a rhyme and reason. You can scheme against certain things. You can set up certain stuff against different defenses. You can run certain defenses to different offenses. So I think they're both mental games, but I think it just depends on more so what position you play than the actual sport.
Yeah, okay. And what would you say is the biggest thing that you and your team are looking forward to build on heading into this weekend's game?
Just building on what we did last week. We had some positives. We scored some points. We stopped Billings, the defending champions, a few times. So we just got to build on the positives, clean up the negatives. And I think this weekend's a good opportunity for us to get a win and get some confidence rolling.
And what are you most looking forward to this season?
Just being honestly, just being a leader for my guys. I want to win, you know what I mean. But I also want to be the person that these guys can lean on and come to when things get rough, whether it's football or off the field. You know.
And as a leader, obviously, you have to be there for your teammates and be the calm when there's a storm going on. How do you remain calm when things are kind of getting hectic, knowing that you have to be that leader and kind of set everything by example?
I think just knowing that is what kind of helps me. Knowing that a lot of the guys are looking at me, and if they see my head go down, and if they see me at a breaking point, that a lot of the guys are going to follow. So I think the thing that keeps me calm is just knowing that I got eyes on me, whether it's the league, my team, my coaches, my family back at home. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure that I'm setting a good example for the people.
And do you have any personal goals set for this season?
I don't really want to jinx myself, but I for sure do have some goals in mind.
All right. Well, maybe you can write them down and then we can check them at the end of the season and you can share with me, how they came to fruition because I'm definitely a strong believer. If you write things down and you really work hard at what you want, it'll happen.
Absolutely, for sure. We can definitely, check back in and see if those goals came to life.
Yeah. And I have to ask, what's one word that you would use to describe the team? And if one's too hard, you can give me three.
I would say one word that describes our team is passionate.
Mhm.
Passionate.
Passion. Has it always been this word or has it built?
I think early you could tell that we were passionate about the game, and now I think that we're starting to get better at being passionate for each other. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Obviously, at some points in camp, it's going to be fights, it's going to be arguments, it's going to be the heat of battle competition. But I think now that camp's over and we're starting to get in the swing of the season, the passion's turned into more of competition to passion towards our brother.
Mhm. And obviously you guys are already in season, but how was the off season and how had that training prepared you for this upcoming season?
Training this year was fun, but it was different. I worked out hard, and a lot of the training that I actually did do was playing flag football. It was a hobby that I picked up, but it's one of the better ways to stay in actual football shape. My coach in college always told me, you can go run 100 sprints, you can go run 1,000 mountains, you can go do whatever you want to do, but if you're not playing football or using football movements, you'll never be in football shape. So, I think going to the field and actually having to see other people run at you while you're catching the ball, while you're running routes, it helps out a lot.
Is it just flag football that you like to practice? Because I know as an athlete, even when they say, rest or, take a little break, you still have to do something to stay active. I know with boxers like Manny Pacquiao, he liked playing basketball. Is there any other hobby that you like to do besides football or flag football to help you stay active?
Yeah, absolutely. I go to the gym with my nephews and play basketball. I take them to basketball practice. I try to just stay active as much as I can, so my body don't get sore, and try to stay as loose as I can.
And you mentioned doing the steam room. Have you ever done like ice baths or any of that?
I'm a uh, I'm a guy that does not like the ice as much as I do. But I do get in there when it's needed. There's sometimes that you can't not get in there because ice helps you out so much. But a lot of times it's the sauna for me. I do use ice though sometimes.
Yeah, I hate the cold. Anything under 70 degrees, I'm wearing a sweater, but man, there's really no better feeling than after you hop off that ice bath, whether it's 30 seconds or 60 seconds, it just feels amazing. Now, I got to ask, what is your message to Lightning fans and Arena fans heading into this weekend?
To the Lightning fans, I would like to say, last week's not what the team wants to present to you guys and wants to give you guys throughout the year. So I would say for you guys, we're coming back to show you guys that what we can really do and get a win. And for the arena football fans, I think we're going to just continue to show you guys we got a lot of lightning strikes over here. We got a lot of explosive players, big playmakers, and we're just going to keep making plays.
Yeah, and I know a lot of fans are going to be traveling to Oregon to catch a home game. Now, I am a huge foodie and I'm excited to go watch you guys play in Oregon, but I also want to know what the best food spots in Oregon are. So I need some recommendations.
If you come down here, I would probably say Madeline's.
Okay.
It's a nice little restaurant. You can get you some nice Hispanic food, good tacos, stuff like that. Or there's a place called I want to say Wild and Out. It's almost kind of like a grill and pub, but they got good wings, bar food, burgers, stuff like that.
Okay, I wrote these down. I will check back in with you after I try Madeline's or Wild and Out because I like wings and I love my tacos. But I might be biased because I say we have the best Mexican food at home because my mama gets down. Well, Kris, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I'm excited to see where this season takes you and best of luck.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.